Hello, welcome back to the Winning Balance podcast. We are met with Sir Logan Petersen.
Sir, I'm not a knight, but
You look like a sir, dude.
Thanks.
That beard is too professional.
Thanks. Well, that's kind of part of the whole brand and image, I guess. But yeah,
dude, I was doing my homework and looked at your Instagram. And
oh yeah,
you had a video without a beard, and when I was like looking at it, I was like, "Is this one of his reaction videos? Like, is he gonna come up after this guy?"
You're like, nope, that's him.
Yeah. And then at the end, I realized it was actually you without a beard. So
yeah, that's funny. Yeah, no, I do that. I do that a couple times. About once a year, I'll do like a big tease and shave off. And
dude, I love it. I love it. Well, how Logan and I met through Sean Finnegan. But the story is kind of funny. We went to the X room. That was my first one ever.
Wild, right?
Yeah, wild. Like seriously, I had no idea the level of like strength in a single room and good people at the same time.
It's a very different type of networking event that Sean has facilitated, and we've made such good connections and worked so much business out of that event that happens every month. So,
dude, I mean, I've only been to one, and I feel like I got like years worth of value.
And it's crazy is they're invite only too, and so like if you get a seat at that table, it's pretty cool.
Dude, yeah. So, I mean, I had seen your face through like podcasts and like Jimmy. Like, I didn't know much about you at the time, but we had started a conversation. I was like, hey, I've seen your podcast. I'm trying to start mine, trying to get some advice. And you had talked about your Instagram. I had no idea about your Instagram, and I was like, "Oh, what's your following at now?" Because I've been trying to build mine. Yeah, and you're like, "Oh, like 500,000," and I was like, "What?"
It's a weird thing because the thing is like social media. There's always somebody who's bigger by far, right? And it's like there's this weird dynamic between, especially here in Utah, influencers versus content creators. I identify more as a content creator because an influencer to me seems a little less authentic. Not that I'm slamming anybody because it's a legitimate career, but it's like, so I still kind of get weirdly skittish when someone's like, oh, how many followers do you have? I'm kind of like, I like don't like to like wave this flag like, oh, I have this many followers, because there's always somebody who has more, but also still being grateful for the platform you've been given. For sure. Right? So.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think with that influencer preconceived, like what we view a platform as, like, you didn't fit that stereotype by any, like content creators, definitely the vibe I got from you because of how like down to earth and humble you were and authentic from literally the very beginning.
Oh, thanks, man.
No, seriously. I mean that. And you introduced me. You were just so willing to give. It was my first time at this networking. And when you go to a networking event that's like as tight knit as X Room, and it's your first time, it's scary.
Oh, it's super intimidating. I mean, like you said, you realize that like, I mean, there's people in there that you will bump shoulders with that are like super nice, authentic people. And then you'll find out some stuff later and you're like, wait, their portfolio is worth how much? Wait, that's his Rolls Royce over there, but like he's wearing sneakers. Like he's like, you know what I mean? Like he's got a backwards hat on. I'm not saying me. It's like there's somebody else I know. But that's what I'm saying. Like it's cool. Like that's why Sean has kind of like curated that room of people of like some big dogs, right? Not everybody in there is a big, massive dog. He also goes from, people who have really made it and people who have crushed it and like the people you want to find and become your mentors versus, like people who are still up and coming, people who have, they have the X factor, they have those, different qualities and they have, I mean, you don't have to have money to have influence. You don't have to have money to have connection. And Sean sees that in people. And that's why we brought him on as a partner in our podcast, because I just had a phone call with him yesterday. We're going over this big event that we're going to be doing in Florida. And yeah, there's a lot of power in life and business in just connection. So cool, dude. Well, I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful to have met you, dude. Like you introduced me to 3 or 4 people that I was just like immediately, I owe Logan something, and I know you don't expect anything in return. So you're just that kind of person. Well, it's like what Sean said. This is probably one of the biggest lessons I learned from Sean. And we mention Sean all the time on our podcast because he was such an influential part in us getting the growth that we did, was that if you provide value without expecting anything in return, it just all the right situations and all the right people will end up falling into your lap. So if you just kind of proceed forward with like doing what you can to build someone else up or like pay it forward or whatever. I mean, that's almost like a law of the universe, so to speak. If you just proceed forward without the intention of what am I going to get out of this, like you'll be good. Yeah. Like it's a pretty simple concept.
And for the audience, we are talking about Sean Finnegan. I don't know if we clarified that. So follow him on Instagram. He's a great human being. Huge name here in Utah. Very well-respected name here in Utah. Yeah. And
he flies under the radar though. If you first met him, you'd never think that he is the guy that he is. And he's super chill.
Yeah. No, I didn't know how much of a boss Sean was until because he's not the guy that's going to tell you up front either.
Yeah, he's not going to flat out tell you like, oh yeah, I'm business partners with Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank. Exactly. Like he's not going to just tell you that, but like you go to you go to Tax Hive down in Orem and you walk in and you're like, oh dang, Sean's got an arcade in his office. Like, you know what I mean? He's just a big kid too, but he's one of the most authentically genuine guys. Like I can't say enough good things about him. So he's whenever Sean's like, hey, I've got this going on or whatever, I'm there. Like that guy has earned all of my respect.
Yeah. So. That's amazing. Okay. Well, let's get into your bio, Logan. And please, like at the end of this, I would love if anything you have to add to your bio.
Sure.
Like I would love it. Logan Petersen is a mental health advocate, social media personality, and host of the Dad Bods and Beards podcast, a show that aims to give men permission to prioritize their mental health. After navigating his own journey, living with bipolar disorder, Logan finds purpose in sharing his story to help others feel seen and less alone. As a husband, a father, and a firm believer that healing starts with honesty, vulnerability, and accountability, he has found the most success in life and business through authenticity and true human connections.
It's always
beautiful.
Well, that's ChatGPT, but like, no, it's thank you though, but it's weird hearing your part of your own bio read to you when normally, I do a lot of the interviews myself.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I'm a big believer on speaking up. I mean, being in the men's space and like having been in the construction industry and the trucking industry and so that for so long, a lot of guys literally die in silence because they don't feel like they have a voice or they can speak up. And so that's where my whole platform kind of came from was, I was diagnosed bipolar in 2017, answered a lot of questions, but it also left me with a lot more. But I look back at the times that I said that I was fine or that I was okay or whatever, and I was the furthest thing from it. Almost ruined my life, almost ended my life, almost ruined my marriage, ruined a lot of things. And when you finally speak up, you're going to find a lot of people who don't want to listen, and it's going to change a lot of relationships. But when you find that core group of people, it absolutely changes everything. So that's my thing is I try to, I get messages all the time and comments all the time on social media from guys that are peacocking, that are telling me how weak I am, that I'll talk about different things and, call me all kinds of names in the book. But at the same time, I have 10 times as many more messages of guys coming through saying, hey, I appreciate this. Like, hey, I feel, so I'll do like the dumb, funny, dark humor, but also try and do the relatable stuff because the big thing is I'm trying to be and get out the messages that I wish, 27-year-old Logan would have been able to see 8 years ago when I was really struggling,
Yeah, I appreciate that so much. Just like from my perspective. Yeah. I mean, I feel like the majority of men have battled mental health to some degree.
Oh yeah. Like, everybody does.
Yeah. Everybody. Yeah. I would say, everybody too. It's hard to figure that out as a man because you feel like you're almost trapped in this societal pressure that you just have to figure it out. You just have to provide. You just have to go, right? And when I was at the deepest, darkest aspect of mine is anxiety that led to depression. And it was just like, I've always been the happy guy. And I always thought that I was immune to that. And when it hit me, it was like,
You go through a denials phase, like 100%. Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when you deny those feelings and you deny those emotions and those even chemical imbalances, that leads to even more problems. Right. So the thing is, you know, we say like, oh, the stigma or society or like, you know, being able to talk about this. The problem is like, especially with men's mental health, right? So one of the things I say all the time is men, and I'm pretty middle of the road when it comes to everything.
Yeah.
Like I've learned so much that like the hard opinions I used to have about everything from like politics, religion, society, socio-political issues, all that kind of stuff, realizing that like everybody is on their own spectrum of life. And my opinion does not matter more than someone else's about their own life. My whole thing is I want to like meet people where they're at and connect with them in a way, because I have learned from people that could not be any more different than me versus people who are just like me. And so the stigma and society and things like that, the biggest perpetuators of the men's mental health issues are men. Like we created our own problems in a lot of ways. There's a lot of guys that will blame women and they'll blame this and they'll blame that. At the end of the day, the only person who can make an actual change in your life is you. And the world is going to just throw everything at you over and over and over and over again. It's about what you do with it. And I know it's so much easier said than done. But the problem is men, we tear down other men for expressing feelings, for going through struggles. And a lot of that is generational change, right? Dad and grandpa and great grandpa and great grandpa, you know, men weren't supposed to yada, 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 yada. And I mean, I'm no different. My family history, bipolar is a genetic issue. Like it's not something that you develop because of a traumatic experience. There's traumatic experiences that can happen along with it, right? But I didn't, quote, have any family history of mental health issues because I was kind of like a weird pioneer in my family of like, wait, Logan's got bipolar. Like made a lot of sense, but like, well, dad didn't have any issues that we talked about that were ever recognized. Well, grandpa didn't have any issues that we talked about or were recognized. Come to find out, I've got an ancestor on my dad's side from northern Utah that we all believed that he died hitting a tree on a horse, like back, you know, I don't know, 1800, something like that. I probably should get more specifics on it, but turns out that he ended up with some mental health struggles because of that accident, ended up in an asylum at the time, and then took his own life.
Goodness. So
there is mental health history that goes far, far back. Like, so when everyone says, oh, these didn't exist. Yeah, it did. We just didn't know. We didn't have the understanding. We didn't have, you know, the metrics of it. We didn't have the science behind all of this stuff. And to me, like I said before, like my whole mental health mantra is that I almost literally died in silence. So I'm going to live out loud. You can call me a wuss. You can call me a whatever, but you can also call me when you're crying because life is hard. Like that's life is hard enough, right?
I love how you said that.
So I almost ruined the most important relationship in my life, which is with my wife, because I refused to talk to anybody. I refused to get help because I was fine. Men don't talk about these type of things. When in reality, and I will say this until my last breath, it takes a far greater show of strength to be vulnerable and talk about the things that you're struggling with than it is to just say, I'm fine. It's really, really easy to be quiet. It's really, really easy to hold it in. And everyone says like, oh, I'm holding it in. Well, having lived that, it was really easy for me to get up from my desk on my lunch break, go get a bunch of food that I shouldn't have been eating because it made me feel good for a minute, go sit in the parking lot, binge all that food, cry, wipe my tears off and go back to my desk and then go home and tell my wife I had, like it was fine. Well, now I was literally dying on the inside, writing suicide notes. And I worked 2 desks away from my dad as a insurance agent in the same company. He had no idea.
Goodness. So
it's like men, we get really good at putting these masks on. Sometimes we wear the masks for so long, we can't take them off. We lose our identity. We lose who we are. We don't know who we are. And that's what leads to the men's suicide rate. We don't feel happy. We don't feel fulfilled. We don't feel successful. We don't feel like we're good enough. And then we compare ourselves to everyone else. And that's where social media comes in. So it's this big interconnected web of just comparison and negativity. And we beat ourselves up because we're not this or did I think that I'd be where I was at age 28? sitting in a psychiatrist's office between my mommy and my daddy with my pregnant wife at home and my 15-month-old daughter. No. That alone was like a psychologically traumatizing experience, even though I was in the place to get the help I needed finally. So it's so convoluted, but it starts with like no longer lying to yourself. Like that's the biggest thing is you got to have like a real honest like conversation with yourself of like, am I actually okay?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm curious on your journey, you've highlighted some of like the general sense of like you were struggling bad mentally, right? And like suicide notes, like a dark time. Mm-hmm. Was there a specific moment that you said, I'm done, I'm figuring this out, I need help, I want to talk about this? Like, was there a specific moment in your life that led you to that? Yeah.
So it kind of, decisions were made for me. So I can't even wave the flag that I was the one that made the decision for my wife essentially did. So before I kind of get to that, the biggest thing is, suicide is such a taboo topic, right? You get some people who act like, oh, it's the easy way out. And then you act like some people who act like, it's like, oh, they lost their battle. Like it was, this win-lose fight. Mm-hmm. The thing with suicide, especially when it comes to men, is the majority of the time, if you talk to men who have attempted or men who, you read through different notes or things like that they've left behind, it's more of a relieving the people they love the most of the burden that they feel that they are. So everyone thinks like, oh, they're escaping or, oh, it's the easy way out. Like, no, a lot of times if it's just an everyday average family man, or even just somebody who doesn't have that yet, or they just have people in their life, 9 times out of 10, they feel like they're bringing down people in their life. Mm-hmm. And by removing themselves from the equation, they feel like they're doing everybody a service. So it is a little bit of a, for lack of a better term, escape from the pain. But a majority of the time, it's men feeling like, I can't keep doing this to the people that I love. I'm ruining their life. So I'm going to remove myself from the equation and their life will get better. That's the biggest lie your brain will tell you, especially like when you're having some mental health issues, is that someone else's life will be better without me in it. I can sit here and give you 10 phone numbers of people who have experienced the exact opposite, of somebody who is no longer here because they were the person that somebody who died by suicide said would be better off without them. Absolutely not. 100% wrong every single time. For me, I didn't realize I was bipolar until I was about 28 or 27. But looking back, there were signs all the way back to high school, right? Because as you mature, it starts, your brain chemistry changes and things like that. I started hallucinating and having hallucinations clear back in 2009. The thing with bipolar is that you have basically, it's a mood disorder. And there's different spectrums within that spectrum. And you have, even like, I don't get offended by this when people are saying like, I'm being super bipolar. Mm-hmm. It's the cliche there is that you kind of swing between highs and lows. Sometimes it's like a positive high, or it can be a really negative high, which is like a positive high is like, you had a baby. Yeah. That's like a natural human high, right? Like I just became a dad. I just became a mom. Like, but then there's like the super dangerous high, which is like, I'm going to cash out my life savings and I'm going to go bet everything in Vegas because I know I'm going to win. Like there's crazy stories with like the bipolar. Then there's the well understood low that people go through: a death in the family, a divorce, a loss of a business, like something that is reasonable for someone to be low. And then there's, the mental health low, which is like, there really doesn't have to be a reason. You just are, because the chemical imbalance, it could be seasonal, it could be situational, it could be, chemical, whatever. Most people operate within that spectrum, like a pretty even keeled, range. Bipolar, you got full access to the range a lot of times at any given moment. And sometimes you have something that's called rapid cycling. 1 minute, I think I'm going to, you could be thinking you're going to start the most successful business in the world. And the next minute is you want to be done. Like literally want to be done with life. That's all without the right, the proper medical help, whether it's medication or other means that you manage it, or there's all kinds of different things out there. There's not one right answer when it comes to managing your mental health. And for me, I was experiencing all these different range of emotions and leading me to making poor financial decisions, poor relationship decisions. You with bipolar, a lot of times, because there are different, like bipolar 1, bipolar 2, there's different types and stuff. It erodes your interpersonal relationships, makes you very narcissistic, right? Like you can't really think about anybody else in moments because you're so trapped in your own head. And sometimes you're trying to dig yourself out of the holes that you dug. And so for me, a lot of things just kept cascading down, problem after problem, like credit issues, financial issues, because, you know, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, so to speak, right? Like wasn't making enough over here, but I wasn't feeling man enough that I could tell my wife we're not making enough money. So I was getting creative and yada, yada, yada. So there's the beautiful part, is that you're accessing parts of your brain the everyday average human won't and can't. Like it's almost kind of like the ADHD, like last minute procrastination. You just crank it out, right? So also having ADHD, right? I'm like this little like cocktail of just like, you know, brain chemistry mess. But it's one of the coaches that I've worked with, his name is Brock Painter. He has helped me a lot learning that these are beautiful parts of who I am. That this is not something that I need to be like moping around for the rest of my life, but that this is just the way that my brain works, and that there are positives to it. One of the big positives is being able to talk about it because a lot of guys feel embarrassed about it. So for me, to kind of go back to answering your question, it was October 16th of 2017. I'd had a hallucination moment. And when I say by hallucination moment is that my brain manifested my darkest insecurities and my darkest parts of my self-hatred as like a demon that I could see, like sitting in the corner of my living room, or standing on the street corner as I was sitting at a stoplight, or it'd sit on my bed at the end of the night and just tell me all these horrible things. And while I know now that he wasn't physically real, when you understand the concept of reality and the way that your brain deciphers between thoughts, dreams, reality, and what's actually happening, it was 100% real to me.
Goodness.
So while he may not have been there in almost like a biblical sense, if you believe in that or whatever, but that's the way my brain was registering it. And remember how he looked, remember how he sounded, remember what his name was, and all these things. And I don't share all of those things because it gives it too much power, but it knew everything because it was me. You know, it was the darkest parts of my brain manifesting itself in my biggest insecurities. And I had moments where they would almost be like, quote, like possession moments, where it would be like just almost like a dissociative identity issue, where I woke up one time and I'd been pounding my head on the front door screaming, get out of my head. And my wife is sitting on the ground holding her, you know, she's pregnant with our second child, and stress is never a great cocktail for a pregnant lady. And there's just a million instances over, and then I would shrug them off. I would literally shrug them off of like literally believing, because of my, you know, religious affiliation at the time, that this was I was trying so hard to be a good person that this was a legitimate demon possession. Like that made more sense to me than even thinking about it could be a mental illness.
So when you came back down, like you talk about the highs and lows, when you felt like you had some sort of balance, is that when you just said, okay, I'm okay. Like I'm fine. I don't need help?
So you swing back sometimes. Sometimes a depressive moment could last for a long time, or a manic episode could last for a long time. Like, dude, I started a couple of side businesses in the middle of a manic episode that did pretty well, but then I like would fall off and things would go wrong or whatever. But it was just this constant back and forth of my wife, like waiting for the other shoe to drop, of like something else to happen or whatever. And I won't share all these stories because some of them are hers to share. And some of them are hers to keep to herself, because it's in a marriage, like it is, you don't realize how much impact who you are, what you do, what you say, what you think, and how like everything has on your partner.
For sure.
Has on your spouse, has on your wife. And the legitimate PTSD that she has for moments like that. Right. But it all kind of came to a head where after a moment like that, basically my wife, little 5'2", tiny little blonde girl, she's like, this isn't like, you need help. And as a big big burly guy that thinks that I had everything figured out and I'm the big provider, I'm the rock, all that stuff. Like that's very emasculating, but you know, she's doing it out of love. Like she's doing it out of like self-preservation and protecting our kids of like something's wrong. So like I said, it was kind of the origin story there was that night. My mom and dad picked me up and my dad was going to take me to a psychiatrist appointment the next morning. That kind of just started the spiral of like being totally emasculated, right? I'm now laying in my bedroom at my mommy and daddy, my old bedroom at my mommy and daddy's house. My wife, my daughter, and you know, my unborn son at the time are 45 minutes away at my house where I should be. Right.
Jeez.
And I'm like, I'm laying in my twin bed back in my mommy and daddy's house. I should be at home with my family. And I started just spiraling. And don't remember a whole much about that other than I blacked out and I woke up 3 miles away from where I was supposed to be. In a pharmacy parking lot after hours. It was late at night. Everything was closed. My phone was dead, and come to realize that I had ran down a 2-lane road, like kind of like a 2-lane country road that didn't have any sidewalks or streetlights. Long story short, the police were out looking for me. My parents were out looking for me. Ended up getting a stranger in the parking lot let me use their cell phone. I called my wife and I immediately started trying to say like, no, it's okay. I'm fine or whatever. And it took my wife saying, you're not fine. This is not fine. This is not okay. We're not doing this. And then my mom pulls in, my dad pulls in, and the police pull in because, you know, finally realizing where I'm at because my wife's letting them know like, hey, he's over here. That was realizing I went into fight or flight mode. I had no reason to run or fight the police because everybody was there to help me. But I started arguing with the, like, I'd never had any kind of criminal record. I still don't. I never had any reason to be like in that space. Like people were there to help me, but I mean, it's traumatizing where my mom pulls in and I'm trying to open the door. I'm like, hey, I just want to go home. I'm realizing I'm going through all these crazy emotions. She's got her door locked and her window cracked. I'm like, Mom, open the door. And then it's like that sparks everything. And then I'm ripping on this door handle and the police come up and he's like, hey, and you know, they don't know the situation. This guy's a little bit more aggressive and it just starts to just cascade from there. And, I don't believe in coincidences. I don't believe in chance or luck or things like that. I think everything happens for a reason. And the right police officer was on duty that night and her name was, this gets me emotional. Her name's Katie and we've stayed in touch. She saved my life. I was ready to be done. In that moment, I felt like that was it. Like I was egging on the other guy to lead to, I don't know what, the other police officer. I was getting ready to run. I was done. I'm like, this was my moment of everything is falling apart. She was able to talk me down, get me to voluntarily get in her car. And she said, look, I can take you in the back room of the ER. Nobody has to see. You walk through the front. We have to do registration or whatever. You can just go straight into a room. And so she charged my phone on the way there. She talked to me there for like 20 or 30 minutes. Sweet lady. I mean, she had no mental health experience up until that point. She's just a, everyday average police officer. And then she stayed with me in the ER for a long time. My dad showed up, followed us there, and she stayed there for a long time, just talking, reassuring me that everything was going to be okay. And she gave me her card before she left, and she said, I want you to call me in 5 years because you're going to be fine. Fast forward 5 years, I'm living in Utah because this all happened back in California. And I started messing around on TikTok after the pandemic. Kind of found my voice. It took me 5 years after that to finally even admit on social media to like the only very few people knew I was bipolar because there's this stigma of like, he's crazy. But I've been no incidences, managed thing, medication, psychiatry, therapy. Like I took that moment, those 5 years prior to, or those years after that of like, I owed it to my wife among everybody else to try, for lack of a better word. Yeah. Like I had all of those people out looking for me, traumatized my wife. And I as much as I didn't want to, I realized that I owed it to my wife and to my babies to fight as hard as I absolutely could to stay present, to stay alive. And out of just sheer respect for my wife, I tried everything, psychiatry, different forms of therapy, different medications and things like that. And realizing that when I got out of my own way and I thought of other people before myself, of what I didn't want to do or what I thought was fine, or me, that's when you realize that, like, hey, there is more to this than just what I think about myself, because there are people that rely on me, not just for protection or, to provide or whatever, that like, no, like I almost left my kids without their dad. I know there's a lot of people that have different upbringings when it comes to being parents, but my kids didn't deserve that. I would have left my wife with a million more pains and scars than I had given her that point if I had made that decision. And unfortunately, there are some people that don't have that moment of clarity. So having that moment of clarity, having that, I don't know, guardian angel that Katie was coming to me, like, I took that as like a sign from, call it whoever you want, like God, universe, source, of being like, your story's not done yet. I got some big plans for you, so get your crap together. But that was, and that's kind of like what sparked it. It took me a couple years to, it took a long time. And I don't ever try to give the impression that like I'm good 100% of the time. No. I still have bouts of depression. I still have bouts of like, whoa, like getting all excited about things. I manage it in different ways, different medications, different holistic measures. I've started taking care of my body a lot more. I was over 300 pounds, gotten down quite a bit. But it all comes down to like your effort that you're putting in for the people that you love. And one of those people has to be yourself. You have to love yourself enough to try too. Because if you don't value yourself, like you're never going to feel the drive to like improve your own life for the people that you love the most too. So it's like I said, it goes back to this just big interconnected web, and there is no one right answer, because the more darts you throw at the wall, the more chances you have of one of them sticking. So it's try everything.
So you talked about up until, because you had this episode, your wife, your family, it started clicking, like my mom's not letting me in this car, like that, that meant something to you, right? Like up until the point that you got in that cop car, you were still fighting this, right?
Oh yeah.
Was this conversation with this cop, what, remind me of her name?
Katie.
Yeah. Was this a spark that said, I can change, I have permission to change, or I want to change? Like, talk to me through that process in your mind of, I need to actually work on this.
So that's a great question. Nobody's ever asked me that. I think some of those memories of those nights are still pretty foggy, right? It's almost kind of like wrapped a little bit in like almost like a PTSD moment. Yeah. Like I still have a hard time when I go back to California to visit family that still lives there. I have a hard time driving past that specific pharmacy still, as tough as I like to think that I am. I just felt like in that moment, I'm not so much a religious guy. I'm spiritual more myself. I've learned it. I think the best answer I have for that is that I just felt this, like I felt as a man, I felt this feeling of safe with somebody outside of my wife. It was like this, like I just felt this connection moment of like, it was like a spirit calming moment, if that makes sense. It was like one of these, like, this person is here for me in the right means. And the cool part is that was a mutual experience, because Katie has since, she became a school resource officer after that and helped a lot of kids through some mental health struggles. And now she trains other police officers on situations like that.
And that was her first encounter with.
Yeah. And the thing is she wasn't even called to that, she wasn't dispatched to go to the pharmacy. She had got the call in that, there was a, late 20s guy missing that was having some mental health issues. And he was in this general, like mind you, 3 miles away in this city where I grew up, that it was in this area. But then she also heard the call come over that people were apparently reporting a guy running down the wrong side of the road in the dark. And so she's like, maybe these two are connected. So she headed to that direction. So she just happened upon me essentially because she was like, okay, there's a missing guy on this side of town, but we're also getting reports of this guy. I mean, for a big guy at that, apparently I ran pretty quick right at that time. But so she kind of put 2 and 2 together and ended up in that, just kind of put all these calls together and decided to go check in that area. And so she was one of the first people there. And, yeah, it was just a moment where I just felt like, okay, this is somebody who's going to impact my life. And the way this has come full circle is like, they're in Sacramento. She's in Sacramento, California. That's where I grew up. And we go back once or twice a year because my wife has family back there. But still had never like connected with her to like literally see her again after that moment, because we'd moved to Utah actually like not long after that moment. And this last Christmas we went back to visit family and I got to introduce, I got to introduce Katie to my wife and my children. And I've got these videos and pictures of that interaction that I hold very, very close to my heart, because just, it was like hugging them. It was like hugging your mom, right? Getting to, as a man, this is another big thing is I don't ever try to like puff up my chest of like, you know, like with masculinity, but like as a man, it is a very humbling and grateful and spiritual experience to introduce your children and your wife to the person who helped save your life. So to have the opportunity to talk to her again in person and like feel that just spiritual connection again, and also being like, hey, this is my person and these are my babies. It's this feeling of that if I had not gotten out of my own way for 15 minutes, allowed this lady to talk to me and bring me in and like bring me down and kind of mansplain to me that, hey, you're not okay. You're going to need some help, but let me help you like in a very tender way and like speak to my soul, then I never would have met my son. I never would have watched my daughter grow to be this amazing little 9-year-old that she is now. I wouldn't have had these, amazing experiences and these highs and these lows that I've experienced with my wife. And I would have never had, the platform that I do now. I would never met the people that I know now. I would never learn the things that I have. And it comes down to these little single moments of getting out of your own damn way and realizing that you don't know everything. You are not fine all the time. Mm-hmm. And that, I don't know if you ever saw the movie, The Italian Job. Mm-hmm. Fine stands for freaked out, insecure, neurotic, and emotional, right? Men have this ability to like, we think that the less emotion we show and the less we give other people, the tougher we are. And unfortunately, there are situations where that does play true, where you do overshare to the wrong people. I have plenty of experiences that myself that burned me with people I never thought I'd be burnt by. But those are the experiences that help you cherish the ones of people who do show up for you. And it will be people like one of the best things that I was saying Brock told me was the best way to heal a sick dog is put him in a healthy pack. I mean, that's like what you're doing with Jimmy Rex and the We Are the They. Like, it's a healthy pack of people that you can trust and you can be vulnerable and you can speak up. And that's my whole message. That's my whole mission, is that like there is so much power and strength and found in solidarity with people. And it's not just men, but the strongest men that I know and the most successful men, I'm talking about multi-million and multi-billionaires that I've met, that they all talk about the dark times and who they reached out to and how they were able to like work themselves through that. And they all have a process and like a mental health mantra and something that gets them through, because just going through, pushing through, it doesn't work. Sometimes you have to, but it's not sustainable.
Dude, that's beautiful. I appreciate you sharing that. And I mean, I'm just to add to the list, the little tidbits of goodness you're spreading through the world, like since that time, like I'm an example of that, just the goodness you shared with me. So like, I'm appreciative that you're here. Like I'm appreciative that you're spreading this message. It's resonated with me. And like, I know there's thousands and thousands of people out there that have like benefited from you being here.
Oh, thanks, man.
So I appreciate it. I have a question for you too, Logan. It's, just because like the family aspect is something that I value so heavily. And that's one of the main reasons I wanted to start this podcast. And, I mean, when I was both my wife and I like aren't perfect by any means in our mental health, and we've had darker times, we've had better times. And, you talk about this dark time. And I mean, this moment that maybe was like a climax of change. And, how I see it is like a before and after of your marriage of like, hey, let's start talking about this. Let's start taking this more serious. Like, what have you learned from seeing both sides of those coins in terms of your marriage and handling mental health?
Dude. I mean, how long do you want to sit here?
Yeah.
I am 1000% a better man because of my wife. I would not be the person I am today without Chelsea. Gosh, dude, I can't, I like lose words. I thought that I loved that girl when I met her. And I thought I loved her when our daughter was born. It's been a series of, I thought I loved her this much, but it's just constantly compounding, because the more I have stopped and listened to her and spoke her love language, not telling her all the time what I need or how I think it should be, but stopping and listening to the fact that she has thoughts, experiences, and senses that I don't, as a man, as the husband, as the father, my life has improved dramatically. And unfortunately, there's times where I still have a hard time conveying that to her. My level of empathy has gotten to a point where it's almost frustrating how much I care about certain things or certain people or whatever, because she has shown me the value of that empathy. If there is nothing else that anybody takes from this sit down, is empathy is one of the most powerful emotions you will ever feel. And it is and if you don't have empathy for other people, that is one of the biggest things you need to work on. Because if you don't have empathy for other people, there is no way in hell you can expect it back from anybody. If you think that you have the right way of thinking on any subject, and whether that's religion, politics, sexuality, all of these things, if you think this is the one way of thinking, you need to back up and understand that there's 8 billion people out there, and everybody has a different thought process, and everybody has a different way of viewing. There's a lot of crossover, and there's a lot of understanding, but there is also a lot of argument because people just think that they know the best. The biggest lesson that my wife taught me is that I don't know everything, and that she never has claimed to either, but she has shown me by how she treats other people and how she creates space for other people to be authentically themselves. And that is where you save lives, is you allow somebody to find their own path and you guide them in the right way. I talk about how Katie helped save my life. My wife, I would not physically be here without her. I would not be alive, because she was the tipping point of not just putting up with everything for all these years, but like giving me the strength and giving me there's this negative connotation in social media right now about holding space. Everyone thinks this thing is being, oh, he's weak. Oh, someone's holding space, yada, yada, yada. As a man, when your wife holds space for you emotionally, it is an absolute game changer. Because I know there's a lot of guys out there that don't have that they have opened up to their wife or their girlfriend or their significant other, and they were met with negativity, or you can't, or even like emasculating, conversations. So I am extremely grateful for the fact that my wife perpetuated that. My wife pushed me towards, kind of accepting the safe space that she was. Man, you think you connect with your wife on all these different levels, but this could be kind of emasculating, but I don't care what other people think. When you've been in holes where you don't want to live anymore, and your wife holds you like a kid and allows you to have that space, but then turns around and builds you back up and then pushes you forward. There is such a healthy balance between emotional strength and connection, and then partnering it with that masculine drive to go out and do it and be the provider. Like, don't get me wrong. I'll sit and have all of these good-hearted, soft conversations with my kids all day long, but my boy wipes out on his bike. Get up, bud. Like, I mean, there's the tough love situations that happen. And my wife has dealt out plenty of tough love to me too, but it's not one way or the other. It is not black and white. It is not, we don't talk about emotions. Kids are seen and not heard. Men shouldn't be able to cry, all that crap. No, if you have the emotional depth, why should you stunt it? Like, it's a gift from whoever you think created you. You have this emotional ability to connect with somebody. And if you understand frequencies and vibrations, like, when people say, oh, the vibe is off, you physically are pushing out frequencies and vibrations to other humans. And when you cut that off, you essentially stunt a potential beautiful relationship with somebody. And so it's like, the biggest advice I have for men that are maybe in a traditional relationship, like, let your wife in or let your girlfriend in. And if they don't want to be in, that's maybe time for, a different conversation. And I don't want to perpetuate that with anybody. But the thing is let somebody in, but then also be willing to get just as invested in your wife's life. Like, she is her own person with her own dreams, her own desires, her own wants. And a lot of times, in a traditional sense, a lot of that goes out the window when they start having kids. Because their life changes. Your physiological, biochemistry changes as an adult, female and male, when you have kids. So like I'm saying, we could go on for hours and hours and hours, but I don't say this jokingly, and my wife probably gets super annoyed with the amount of times that I say it, but my wife is one of those people that if you have a problem with her, you are undoubtedly the problem, because she is probably one of the, she is the most kind-hearted, sweet, empathetically strong, passionate, driven, tough women I know. She unapologetically will stand up for people and for situations that she knows are wrong or right. And then she does it in this way that you just can't argue with her. And you can't, and which is proof of how dumb I am, because I argue with her. But my point being, I can't say enough amazing things about my wife. And obviously she's my wife, so I'm super biased. Yeah. But the thing is I owe my life to her, and the dynamic is just, I found that when I've gotten out of my own way, she has taught me more things about myself and the beauty of life and parenting and all these things that I never would have learned had I not curbed the toxic masculinity for a minute. Yeah. And just learned that there is this whole side of my life that I wasn't even tapping into.
And with that, I feel like that's leads me to want to ask this question too, of what you've learned with what you've been through and what you and your wife have learned, which she's definitely a role in your mental health journey. Yeah. how does that change your perspective on how you're going to raise your kids?
Oh, dude, that's a good question. You're really good at this. I want to proceed forward that no matter what my kids do, say, how they act, who they choose to love, that they can always come and talk to me. The biggest fail in my life will be the day that my kids feel like they can't talk to me. And I've got no reservations in telling anybody how I feel, in the sense that everyone takes everything back to religion and politics, unfortunately. But I care more about my kids being good people than I care about all the other nuanced details that they're going to figure out for themselves. I will not live vicariously through my kids. I will not choose things for my kids other than what I know at my core to be the best way to raise them. Right. I'm not letting my kids, like tell me when screen time is. Like, no, don't get me wrong. Like, and it's, my daughter is an amazing little athlete already. When she's throwing a fit on the soccer field because she's, not getting whatever she hears. No, there's some correction that happens there 100%. Yeah. And there's plenty of correction that happens in a lot of different ways. So I try to glean from my wife of like, no, the kids have a voice. And when you think about the science of how their little brains are developing, like, dude, I mean, you got a 6-month-old.
Yep.
First off, they're way more durable than you think you are. They think you are. I mean, my boy, I'm surprised he doesn't have traumatic brain injuries, but like, we were so careful with our daughter, right? But, if you give kids a chance to like be themselves, it is amazing the crap that they will come up with. It is amazing that the little humans that they turn into, right? And it's like, you get this whole craze of gentle parenting and stuff like that. I don't think that it's gentle parenting or tough love. I think it's this beautiful amalgamation of both, right? One of the things that I love the most is that my 9-year-old, she will come to me and she will share with me things that she's written in her journal. If she's starting to do that now, it makes me hopeful of kind of like, hey, maybe she's not going to be the 17 or 18-year-old daughter that wants to shut out her dad because he's detached. I'm like, no, I try to pride myself on the fact that I think the way that my wife and I are raising our kids is that I know that if my son chooses to just get plastered at a party one day in high school, that he's going to call me because he knows that we're going to talk about it later, but I would rather him call me and get him out of that situation than be fearful of what dad's going to do to me or what dad's going to say or go to a different, exactly.
Yeah.
So the thing is it's, I mean, some of the biggest people in the world, this goes back to empathy. Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, right? Everybody knows him. If you're in the entrepreneurial space, you know him. Some people have different opinions of him. That guy is like pretty hard-nosed, uses every word in the book, but it all comes back to empathy.
Yeah, he's great.
And when you realize that like parenting and little kids, stuff like that, I don't claim to be this guru on parenting. This is the first time I've had a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old. It'll be the first time I've had a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old. Like it's the first time, everybody's the first time of everything. It's that you want them to just, as a father, you want them to have the best freaking life possible. You want to give them everything you possibly can, especially if there's things that you didn't have. Right? But the best thing that you can give them is the ability to learn for themselves and to choose for themselves with proper guidance, right? If I let my kid choose everything for himself, whatever, he'd have ketchup and top ramen for dinner, like every week, right? But like, the thing is like, there is level of guidance, right? Like we're not these free range kids all the time or whatever. But it's understanding that their brains are so malleable right now, and that everything you say and everything you do, they are watching you 100%, and they will repeat emotions, actions, and words, and traditions and belief systems 100% every single time. And so that's the thing. It's like, choose, like, be the type of person you want your kids to grow up to be, and then hope that they're better.
Yeah.
Right.
I love what you said about like when you give them the platform to talk, when you give them that safe space, like they become your words was, it's wild what they can come up with. Mm-hmm. And I love how you worded that, because I'm so excited for to see my kid's personality, that like even at 6 months, like it's starting to, she's going to be a sassy one. Like, it's wild.
Well, and just think back of like your childhood innocence, right? Like, don't smash that.
Yeah.
Because you had a bad day at work. Like, I'm still bad. Like, I'm still not perfect at that. There is days where like I have just lost my cool. And then my wife letting me know like, hey, you know, that bothered her, that scared her, whatever, of kind of like dad getting that angry about something. Mm-hmm. And then having the ability to like talk it through after. That's been the biggest thing that I have like kind of gained trust with my kids, is that like dad might be dad sometimes, and it may be, you know, not a favorable way, but like being able to like talk through it after and explain like, hey, this is what was going on with daddy today. And, you know, obviously picking and choosing what you talk to the kids about, but like I said, giving them that space to understand that like they are human beings. They have emotions. I mean, we can go down the rabbit hole of just like people who, you know, abuse kids in one sense or another. I'm like, that leads to kids having other issues down the line. And so I'm trying to do the best I can, you know, in, you know, tandem with my wife, of like just giving our kids the tools that they need, you know, to just pursue forward. Like one of the biggest wins I ever had was watching my daughter stand up for somebody else, because she, and this is coming from their mother, because she didn't like the way that somebody else was talking to another kid. She's like, you don't talk to people like that. That's rude. Like, and it's like, as a little kid, words hurt a lot. Yeah. And so to watch my daughter, she's this feisty little shorty, just going up and just like standing up for another kid. I'm kind of like, hey, that to me is like that's what I want. I want my kid to be a good person. I want my kid to worry more about like the emotional like strength of somebody than it is about than anything else. Like, because emotions tie into literally everything. Yeah. How you are feeling on the inside leads to every decision you will make. So when you understand that, it changes how you talk to other people. It changes how you interact with other people. I mean, it's like said, the Sean Finnegan effect. It changes how you offer help to other people. And so I'm trying my best to impart that, because I was raised with 6 siblings. There was days where I was like, did you eat today? Yeah. Right? Like my parents, they weren't bad parents. They were good parents, but there was a lot of like, I'll admit, there was a lot of like emotional fall through. Yeah. Like, couldn't really go talk to my mom or dad about this. Right? Like, oh no, you're not this, you're not ADHD, you're just hyper or whatever. Well, it turns out it was. Turns out it was actually more than that too. So it's given it's like, if you think that, if this is kind of like a hill I will die on, is that if you think the kids are seen and not heard, you got to change your perspective. Yeah. And I personally think that you almost don't have any business being a parent if you think your kids don't deserve a voice. And I don't care how freaking young they are. If they can talk, you better start listening.
So. 100% agree. Yeah, it's funny. My mom, the doctors started saying like, hey, this kid, because the teachers would say, hey, this kid might have ADD. Sure. Doesn't sit still. He's talking all the time. And then the doctors were like, probably. And my mom for a while was like, he doesn't have ADD. He has BOY. Like, he's just a boy. And then BOY. Yeah. Right. Now my mom, like in high school, she's like, yeah, okay. He's sure. He has ADD. It's clear cut. And anyway, so it's funny. I think it's tough just to say like, it's on them, right? Like their generation, it's been this waterfall of no, there's no label here. There's no issues here. Like, move on, we're fine. And so I think my mom's and my dad have like drastically seen a difference of like, I love my parents to death. They're my favorite people in the world, but like what they came from, like that wasn't a thing. Yeah. So
well, and that's the thing too, is like, I mean, we live in a very overly self-diagnosed world. Like, I'll admit that. Like, everybody has something, right? Yeah. And I'll leave my opinions about that off, because it's like it lessens real situations for some people who are, whether it's everything from mental health to like, there's a lot of self-diagnosing autism nowadays. And that, so I'm not trying to sit over here and act like everything needs to be soft and everything needs to be this and everyone needs to have it. Like, no, there's like, that's what we try to do with Dad, Bods, and Beards is like, here's all the information that we, in our experiences, here's what we've gone through. Here's the different guests that we've had on. Okay. Now you got to do something about it. So we're going to talk about all this soft and we're going to talk about all this emotion and all this empathy and all this stuff. Okay. But you are still a man. You still have the masculinity inside you that wants to perform and provide and protect and get out there. And this is the thing, is when you understand like the brain chemistry of like, these things are not things inside you that are meant to be a crutch. No, they are pedestals. They're beautiful parts of who you are that are trying to basically tell who, like, I don't like the character that we are playing right now. Something needs to change. You're depressed. Okay, what is wrong? Do some self-inventory. What is going on? There's nothing that you can peg as what is the reason that I'm feeling this way. Okay, now it's time to talk to a doctor. It might be a chemical issue. You might need a little bit of a medication, or you might need to just go touch some freaking grass and read a book. like
work out.
Or work out. Like, dude, believe it or not, I'm training for the Utah Valley Marathon. I'm running it on June 7th. In October, I couldn't run a mile. And on Saturday, I have 18. And like, it's one of the best things I ever did for my mental health was go outside and start running. Dude. And I've like clinically diagnosed bipolar disorder. I've been on every medication that was offered for this. Some were great. Some I absolutely hated. I've done psychedelic treatments, and there's people that have negative opinions about that absolutely changed my life.
Yeah.
And I was trying to just choose what was best for me in my life and going down that field. Like I said, there is no one right answer. But if you think that they don't exist, I've got to like that. You have a whole nother thing coming.
Yeah.
Right. Like it is not. Mental health, mental illness, emotional issues, ADHD, autism, all of these things. I'm like, if you think that they don't exist, like you've like I said, go read a book. It's not this detrimental thing to be diagnosed with that is now this crutch that you can lean on and just be a victim. If you are diagnosed with something like that and you are using it as a crutch to be a victim, you also need to wake up.
Yeah.
Because there is so much. Before, it used to be like inaccessible when it came to help. Oh, it was too expensive. I don't have any insurance or whatever. There are so many organizations out there that now provide cost-effective or absolutely free care and health or help and service. Some are better than others. Not everybody gets the celebrity rehab experience, right? That's one goal that we have with Dad, Bods, and Beards is that one day we're going to have an in-care facility that will be hopefully a celebrity type experience for the everyday average dude, so that we can get you back out and running for your family within 3 weeks to 3 months. Because that's what I needed. Because unfortunately, I got that diagnosis, and 3 days later, I was back at my desk because I didn't have a choice. I had to provide for my family. And then it was years and years and years of fighting to just get to this point.
I want to ask you about your diagnosis specifically and the emotions that came behind that. Was it embarrassment at first? Was it now I know what to do? Like motivation to go figure it out? Like talk to me through
all of them. It was all of that. It was embarrassment. I mean, I was so messed up. I had to ask my mom how old I was filling out the form in the psych's office that day. I could not remember if I was 26 or 27.
Jeez.
Like it was just that brain melting, right? And there's a lot of people on social media that will be like, they just act like they don't exist. They just act like mental health issues don't exist. They act like mental illness. This didn't exist this amount of years ago. And those are the things that run through your head. Of like, this doesn't happen to me. Like you said, like I would just, the dark period of the anxiety, the depression that you went through, of kind of like, you never think that would happen to you.
Yeah.
And if you sit there and view it as like this negative thing, as opposed to recognizing it as just something that's happening and now is just a part of your life that you need to figure out how that puzzle piece fits in. Yeah, dude, you go through all those emotions. You go through like fear, and then you go through like denial, and then dude, but I'll tell you another moment where another woman taught me a freaking amazing lesson. That psychiatrist, I'm sitting down, and she's this lady that came from India. X amount of years later, she's sitting there, amazing psychiatrist, and she's sitting there within 5 to 6 minutes. Oh, you're bipolar. she had me nailed down.
Really?
Yeah. Sitting there with my dad, my mom, she was waiting in the waiting room, sitting there with my dad and going through all these experiences. And she's going through, I was also on heavy doses of Adderall, which is the worst medication you can be on when you're bipolar, because it's an upper. And they thought I was just ADHD. I was on way too much, like a lot. And that was leading to a lot of hallucinations. So she started just like, do you ever feel like this? I'm like, yeah. She's like, have you ever had instances like this? I'm like, yeah. And it was just this series of yes, 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 yes. And she's like, you're bipolar. And it was like, what? I'm like, no. She's like, yes, you are. And it was like going through all of these. She's like, we're going to figure out this. She's like, get off of that medication immediately. She's like, I normally don't, permit cold turkey. Basically, this doctor telling me that I was addicted to Adderall. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I don't abuse it. She's like, yeah, but your brain craves it and needs it and wants it. And that's where all these stimulation is coming from. Getting off of Adderall was like one of the worst experiences of my life, because I didn't realize that I was addicted to it. And I never abused it, but it was like my brain craved it. And it was causing these hallucinations because I already had this crazy brain chemistry, and it's medical grade meth. It says amphetamine. It says amphetamine salt. Yeah. And that's not one way or the other. I'm not trying to like push my opinion on, because some people it's a lifesaver.
Yeah. I hate it. I get that it's needed for some, but I become a zombie. My appetite changes, but.
So it was that. And then one of the biggest things that was the biggest eye-opening situation, I think, for me and for my dad, is that same thing. I was always the happy kid. I was always trying to make people laugh, because I was just, it was almost like the Robin Williams effect, right? When you are so dark on the inside, you try your best to help other people not experience what that feels like. You don't want others to feel the darkness and the sorrow. So you turn yourself into this sad little clown. You put on the happy face, but you are dying on the inside because you don't want people to know what it feels like to just hate yourself. So you make them laugh, you make them smile, you're the center of their attention. That's why everybody says when somebody does die by suicide, and I say die by suicide because a friend told me that term. You don't commit suicide. It's not a crime. You didn't commit cancer. You didn't commit, other ways that people do pass away. It's not a crime. You died by suicide. So when people do end up dying by suicide, it always follows up, but they were so happy, but there was no signs. There was no this. Well, it's because they were putting on masks because they didn't want to hurt anybody else, and they want people to feel better. And so my dad is sitting there telling this doctor, she's talking about different treatments and medications and things like that. And he, bless his heart, didn't know any different. He said, well, what are these medications going to do to his mood, to his personality? He's like, we don't want to lose our happy Logan. We don't want to lose our energetic Logan. And then the doctor turns to my dad and says, well, the Logan that he's letting you believe is Logan is not the real Logan. She's like, that's who he's letting you think is Logan. I felt so seen in that moment. Like, talk about another emasculating, but also empowering moment is for this woman to within 10 minutes be like, that's not who he actually is. This is who he's letting you see he is. So that's being able to have that moment. Then it was that changed a lot of things for me. That change of kind of okay, this might actually be a thing. This woman just saw me, and she's known me for 15 minutes. I'm not very good at putting these masks onto the people who have been recognized to identify them. So in that moment, it was almost kind of this symbolic, taking the mask off of being I could put it down for a moment and be the guy who was struggling. And then this woman sitting here being it's okay. You're in the right spot. But this is what we're going to have to do now to keep you in the right spot and to help you progress. You're going to need to go to these types of forms of therapy. We're going to need to start these medications. And it start with just knocking me the F out, meaning you need to go home and you need to sleep. So prescribing me medication to just knock me out for a couple of days. So it was it was in those series of moments and those few days that led up to the traumatic experiences with my wife and the demonic issues, blacking out running, being picked up by Katie, going to the hospital, ending up in a psychiatrist's office the next day. Like, it was just these series of like acceptance, recognition, understanding that this is not okay for this to continue on this path. And I have an opportunity, and all of these people were involved for Logan. All of these situations, all of these people were showing up for me in one capacity or another. So I owed it to the people who were trying to save me. And it was just in that moment, it was just like, it wasn't this one ping or this one situation. It was just this combination of like seeing a little glimmer of light or a little glimmer of hope of like, wait, so I don't have to feel like this all the time. I was like, okay, like let's try. And it's been an uphill battle. There's slide backs here and there, and there's been tears still here. There's been traumatic events still in there, but it's the 2 step forwards, 1 step back. Yeah. You know, it's just trying. Like, you have to try. And that's with Dad Bods and Beards. Our whole thing is it starts with you. Everybody out there can tell you a million things of what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing, what you should be taking, what you shouldn't be taking, all these. But at the end of the day, it comes back to who you are staring at in the mirror. And it's, do you recognize that person? Do you love that person? Do you want that person to succeed? Like, if you answer all those questions, and if any of them are like in the negative sense, spend some more time in the mirror, do some mirror work, stare yourself in the freaking eyeballs. Tell yourself you love yourself every single day, staring yourself in the mirror until you believe it, because you are deserving of love, especially from yourself. If you don't love yourself, you're going to have a really hard time getting other people to love you too.
I love that. Well, I have one last question for you, Logan. As a man, like, for the men that are viewing this right now and they feel like they are knee deep in quicksand, like they're fighting with their mental health, but they don't know how to get that first foot above ground. Like, what advice do you have for those men?
One thing that I started doing was meditating and journaling. It's really hard at first. It's really hard to quiet a loud mind. But you have got to decide like what you want, like what kind of life do you want to live? And you can't really figure that out unless you give it some actual real thought. I'm not talking about what kind of truck you want to drive. I'm not talking what kind of house you want to have one day. I'm not talking about, how much money you want to make. I'm like, what do you want to feel about yourself? How do you want to, do you want to have a level of confidence that you know that you love yourself? So for me, the advice is that you have got to slow down, stop, and think and put some serious work into the guy that's pulling all the strings inside your head. And a lot of times that starts with talking to the people that are closest to you. Because if you don't have the right support system, if you don't have people who are actually in your corner, that will just stunt a lot of the work that you're trying to do. So I would say it's probably 2 things: of give yourself the time to think through, meditate, pray, whatever, and pray on yourself. If you're praying, if you're the type of guy that prays, pray on yourself. On where can you go? What can you do? Like, what's the different, answers that you need? Or if you want to meditate or just breathe, do some freaking breath work, right? And then start having the conversations with the people that you think are your current inner circle. And unfortunately, you will probably lose a couple people, but the quickest thing that will do to bring you down is the people that are pulling you down.
Thanks for sharing that, dude. Well, we've laughed, we've cried. Like, this has been an amazing freaking conversation. I appreciate you more than you know. If you're not listening to Dad Bods and Beards, go listen, subscribe, leave a review. And then more than anything, take Logan's advice, explore that side. And it's helped me tremendously. So I appreciate the good word.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for having me. This is,
brother.
I didn't mean to go drone on for so long, but no,
that's what we're here for. It's perfect.
So
thanks for coming, brother.